The Queens of Spice podcast is created for adult audiences only. Our show contains cursing, vulgar content, dark humor, descriptions of sexual acts and desires, and is not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. Some episodes also contain themes which may be triggering for listeners. Please take care of yourself.
What's with this book and fires? Jeez.
Welcome to the Queens of Spice podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Raggy Pokemon Master. Here's my two BFFs, Ash and Jack. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, you know, I'm here. We're recording. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Rachel's head's not exploding. I honestly thought she was going to go crazy with all the back and forth, but when we're going to do this.
It's fine. Here we are. We got it. We're here. That's all that matters. We are reading Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark today. This is a mafia romance. Jack, do you know anything about the mafia?
No.
Okay. Do you know anything about Chicago?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Have you been there?
No.
Oh. Okay, well, this is based in Chicago.
Nice.
Callum Griffin is the heir to the Irish Mafia. He's ruthless, arrogant, and he wants to kill Aida. They got off on the wrong foot when she set a very small fire in his house. Their families believe a marriage pact is the only way that'll prevent an all-out warfare. She thinks she might need to murder him while he sleeps. This would be a lot easier if Callum wasn't so damn good-looking. But Aida's got a lockbox around her heart because even if she's forced to marry him, she could never be in love with a brutal prince. So, welcome to Mafia Romance. Trigger warnings off the top, because if you're not familiar with Mafia Romance, it comes with its own collection of trigger warnings, I'll say.
Content.
Content for sure. So, like, as you can imagine, there's like some murder, and there's some off-screen murder, and then there's like a lot of
Abuse.
There's a lot of like non-con and dub-con. I'll say dub-con at the very least.
There's no non-con. They're
Not
both...
in this book.
Oh, yeah, in general. Okay, I thought you were talking about this book. I was like, there's definitely no
Mafia
non-con.
romance, like typically, it's a lot of possessiveness. It's a lot of
Alpha
alpha
male
male bullshit. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. So just like be aware.
Drug use sometimes.
And typically they are dark romances.
Maiming.
Yeah.
Maiming?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Nice.
somebody gets maimed in
It's
this
like
one.
miming, but the complete opposite.
Yeah. Somebody gets hurt real good.
Somebody gets very hurt in this.
Some little stalking. Some light stalking.
Yeah, light stalking, usually.
Yeah.
In this instance, the light stalking is to her benefit.
Which light stalking was to her benefit?
Where he, at the end of the book, where he found her.
When he found her, the light stalking when she
Oh,
got
him. Okay, yeah, okay, we'll talk about that. Sorry, I was thinking about the two main characters. I wasn't talking about the side character who really fucked this up. Well, so like Callum Griffin, he's like the oldest child of the
Irish family.
Of the Irish family in this.
Fergus is his father.
Okay, did you see my note beside that?
No.
Okay, have you ever watched Supernatural?
Yeah,
So,
Crawley.
you know Rowena, Crawley's mother?
Sure.
His name is Fergus. And
Yes.
she calls him Fergus.
Yes.
Because she's very Irish, and so she calls him Fergus. And it's very funny. And so every time I come across his name in this book, I think Fergus. And it's really hard to take that seriously.
I was reading the notes and it says the butcher of Bagada, and I was like, I thought it said the butcher of Bologna.
That's way more interesting.
I was like, the butcher of Bologna.
I want to read that book. So that you're talking about the head of the Polish mafia.
Yes. Sajak.
Zajac, yeah. Did you
Yeah.
listen to the audiobook of this?
Yes.
Okay, great. Because there's not a whole lot, but I'm sure there's a couple pronunciations in here that like I had to ask you if it was Ada or Ida because her name is spelled Aida.
Ada.
And so I wasn't sure.
Ada Gallo.
So to that Gallo, so they're the
Irish.
They're the Italian.
The Italians.
Gallo Italian. She has 3 brothers, Dante, Sebastian, and Nero.
And I love them.
They're wonderful. They have their own books.
Yep.
And then so do Callum's sisters, who are Nessa and Riona. They have their own books as well in this series.
And Ada is the youngest in the family, where Griffin is the oldest in the family.
That's right.
And a big part of the reason that they wanted the union...
Oh, yeah. So there's this big family feud, basically. Not like the show, but the actual feud.
Well, I mean, Ada causes some shit when she sets his house on
Okay.
fire.
So let's go through the story then. The Gallows are enjoying a lovely dinner.
I love
out on
their
their
dad.
patio. Their dad's so wholesome, but he's like an ass kicker, so it's kind of cool too.
He's so awesome. I was so sad.
What's his name?
Enzo.
Gallo. He's like he's older too. He's like 70.
Yeah.
Her mother was younger. There was like I think 7 or 8 year difference in their age or something like that.
And
They
I
mentioned in the book.
feel like Ada's not that much younger because Sebastian is just a little bit older than
Yes.
Ada.
Well, so Ada's 21. Sebastian's I think only a couple years older.
Yeah, because he's in university right above her.
Yeah, because Dante. I think Dante's like either early 30s or late 20s.
I can't remember. I love Dante. I love them all. Nero's a bit wacky.
He's
crazy.
oh my god, he's such a weird dude. And so so
Intense.
they're sitting there. Let's set this up. So Enzo Gallo sitting at the head of the table talking with his children. Specifically, he's talking to Dante, who's the oldest, about this project they're doing downtown. I think it's Oak Street, the Oak Project, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's a property they're building, and they're like chit chatting about it whenever, and then Ada's like watching the window, like out the window,
and
there's fireworks in the distance across the lake, and she's like, "Oh, it's the fucking Gallows. It's Nessa's 19th birthday. Who she went to school with, so she knows her." Sorry, yeah, the Griffins.
The two G's are gonna be hard.
Yes, the Gallo and the Griffins. It's like, oh, it's her 19th birthday. They're throwing this big party or whatever. And she's like, to Nero, she's like, should probably go to that party. Let's go crash it. And so they're waiting for their father to stop talking because you're not allowed to leave the table until Dad's done talking. And so finally he finishes talking. They jump in the car, her, Nero, and Sebastian, obviously. And they're about to leave. And then Dante's like standing in the middle of the driveway, but like, what are you doing? You're up to some shit, some shenanigans. What are you up to?
Shenanigans.
The shenanigans are happening.
What shenanigans again? And
Shenan-
they're like, well, we're going
negans.
to this party, and he's like, oh, come on. She's like, well, you can come with us, and he's like, fine. And they all get in the car and go off to this party to bust it because they were not invited.
Well, not busting it. They're just kind of like sneaking in. I mean, like Nero fucks some chick.
Oh my god, yeah, this is the thing. Nero just
To
like
get into the party?
no, just for
There.
funsies.
Just like whatever. I think he like does it in someone's like room or something. Like not in someone's room, but like
It's like in the ballroom.
yeah.
Yep.
But he does it in the house because nobody's supposed to be in the house.
Yeah, it's an outdoor party. And the reason, okay, so this party is for Nessa's 19th birthday. However, Callum is running for alderman of the 34th Ward in Chicago. And so this is kind of like, one of those events for him to glad handle and just like go around and meet people and whatever.
To what?
Glad hand? To shake people's hands and stuff?
Okay. That was like
I used a word, Ashton.
you
Glad
did.
hand.
I was like that. That's not what that word meant. In my
Glad
head.
hand?
I get what the word means, but in my head,
What does it mean? Oh, I see. Okay. What did you think it means?
What do you think it means?
Well, I'm asking you.
Anyway, so then dirty things happen. No, I'm just kidding.
So she, Ada sneaks into the house because she has to use a bathroom and she like refuses to use a porta potty, which fair, same.
Rachel
and
would definitely sneak into a house.
100%,
To
especially
not
one of
use
these houses. Like it's a fancy like show home. Like it's brand like it's new to them. It's this big mansion. It's
I don't think
lovely.
it's a show home. I think it's just like a mansion.
Well, no, but like she actually cites a couple times that she's like uncomfortable in this house because it looks like everything is in intentionally perfect spot. Like it's a perfect house.
Her family is like
They live in an old mansion.
old
It's
mansion.
like over 100 years old, and
Yeah.
it's like it hasn't been updated in 100 years either. So
I think it has because Nero's got like the garage, and then below the garage, you later find out there's like a dungeony thing.
Oh,
so
really?
I think it has, but not like
it's been altered.
facelifty.
Gotcha.
I think it's more like
Okay.
we did some things so you can hide some cars, and then maybe some bodies in the basement.
Sometimes you got to discipline some people.
Listen, yeah, and there was discipline done. Anyway, yeah, she sneaks in.
So she sneaks in,
Yeah.
and she goes upstairs because obviously, and she ends up across this
It's a
library, this beautiful library, and
Wait, how did you say that?
library.
Okay, I thought you said library for
I
a
could
second.
have, you know what?
I was like, wait a minute.
Listen, it's the old small town talk. But going to library.
Library. Library still.
Library. Jack's drawing a library over there.
It's a strawberry.
It's like a library, but it's a strawberry. Thanks, Jack. Okay.
Oh dear Jesus.
So she sneaks into this library and she's like looking at whatever, and she like has her hand in a pocket watch, and she hears someone coming, so she like chucks the pocket watch in her pocket and hides.
She panics.
Same.
Yeah, her same.
And then fucking Callum Griffin rolls in. He's shaking his glass full of ice and his whiskey, and he has a seat in like one of the seats. Like she's very nearby, and she's like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna be in trouble because these two like they don't know each other." But
bad.
she should not be in this house for starters. And like their families are arch nemesis, basically.
Well, they're mafia families.
Yeah, and like they have a history of like not getting along and stuff like this. So what does she do in order to get out of this situation? Because he's sitting there scrolling through his phone.
Yeah, Jack. What does she do?
What would you do in this
What would
situation?
you do in that
Jacqueline?
situation?
So you're hiding behind his chair. Across the way in a different chair, can't see you, is one of your arch nemesis. Mm-hmm. And you need to leave.
And you're in a library with like a roaring fire.
There's like a
and,
fire,
yeah, and like
books,
you know,
and curtains and like it's a nice little number. What would you do?
Light the room on fire?
Nailed it! So she lights the room accidentally on purpose. She wanted to start a little fire, and it ended up being a little bit bigger than intended. Anyway,
yeah.
So she like pushes the curtains into the fire basically, and they catch fire, and poof, up they go. And she's like, "Oh shit!" and runs. And then Callum's like, "Oh shit!" and grabs a fire extinguisher and puts it out. And whatever. He comes running down the hall and sees her leaving with her two brothers.
Well, as Nero comes out of whatever room he was in,
somebody
like from railing somebody,
yeah.
and he's like, "Them's bitches, them's the ones that did it."
The ones. And he's like, because again, he doesn't know who she is, has no clue, never seen her before.
Nope.
But he knows Nero, and then of course he like follows him out, and he spies Sebastian at some point, where it's like, oh god, what are the fucking gallows doing here?
Wasn't Sebastian talking to Nessa?
Talking to some of Nessa's friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it should be mentioned too, like Sebastian has no interest in like following in the family history or anything like that. Like he just wants to play basketball.
He's baby. He wants to play basketball. That's all he cares about. All he cares about. And he is like playing in college right now. He has a full ride.
Yeah, and he's also 6'7".
Yeah, he's super fucking tall.
Yeah, like super good at basketball.
And which is really fun because Ada's like not that tall.
Yeah.
She's like 5'2" or something.
And Sebastian's massive.
Yeah. They leave. The kids go to leave.
Yeah.
And I use the term kids just because they're the
Everybody
children
leaves.
in this. Yeah, everyone leaves. And then Sebastian is supposed to meet up with some of Nesta's friends, the ones she was talking to the party at like a Dave and Buster's or something, wherever it was.
They go get ice cream.
So anyway, they end up at the boardwalk because like he's like, I'm out of here, and Dante was giving Ada a hard time, and she's like, okay, bye then, and then leaves with him.
Yeah.
And so they go off, get ice cream, walk the boardwalk until their friends show up or whatever. And as they're on the boardwalk, motherfucking Callum Griffin rolls up with Jack, who's his like muscle, his enforcer guy.
Nice.
And they have a confrontation because Callum realizes, he's like, motherfucker, somebody took my grandfather's watch.
Yep.
What the fuck is this shit? And so there's a confrontation. Jack like destroys Sebastian's knee on purpose.
He shatters it.
He shatters his knee, and then Ada pulls the fucking watch out of her pocket and whiffs it into the ocean, or the lake rather.
Yeah.
And then Callum jumps into the lake after the watch, which is dumb but impulsive. And then the two of them take off. And so obviously Sebastian gets to the hospital, whatever. There's going to be some shit show go down here.
Well, because Dante and Nero are like, well, that's it.
They're literally suiting up.
Shit up.
They're like loading up their guns. They're getting their gear in their car. And then the phone rings. Yeah. And it's their dad. And he's like, we're going to have a meeting with the Griffins. Let's go sort this out.
And he tells Ada to wear something presentable.
Wear something. Because she's like, admittedly, it's very funny that she's like such a, I don't even know, tomboy even. It's not even a tomboy. It's just like,
she just doesn't give a fuck.
She's just comfy. She doesn't give a shit.
Like she wears Converse sneakers and band shirts. Like she's just...
And like cut off shorts. Like she doesn't give a fuck.
She's not the fancy type.
No, but which is very funny because the Griffins are all about appearances.
Hoity-toity.
They're very hoity-toity. And then like the Gallows are kind of like whatever. So her father takes them to this meetup with Farragus. Has a meeting with Farragus, and so they shouldn't chat for like 3 hours or something. Kids are just waiting there. In the meantime,
murdering each other.
Fergus leaves Callum at home. He's like, you stay here in your soaked clothes. Do not leave this house.
Yeah. You're dumb.
Give me your phone. We're fucking done here. We're not fucking around. Because again, he's running for alderman and he's 30. It's like, come on.
And he's 30.
Grow the fuck up.
Well, and like,
don't jump in lakes.
It's one of those things too where they're like, this is going to prevent an all-out war, but also the Griffins always wanted to have a big family, but Imogen couldn't. They lost a lot of babies.
Well, to that point too, because Nessa's 19, Riona, who's her older sister, at 25, and then Callum's 30.
Yeah.
So like they were like and they say in the book too that there's a lot of miscarriages and like stillborns and stuff. There's tons missing.
They always wanted a big family, but this is what they've got. And I remember Fergus saying to Callum, like, you don't have any brothers.
Yeah, you're the only one.
You're
so
the
don't
only
fuck
one.
This up.
So
which admittedly, his sister Riona is upset about that.
And
rightly so.
she's badass as hell too.
She's so badass, and of course the father's like, yeah, but like my son has to carry on the legacy.
But she's also like she's wicked smart. She's a lawyer and she does all the lawyery stuff and things. But he's like, look, you marry into this family and you have instant muscle. Like you have instant family here. You've got brothers that you don't have, we didn't have, we weren't able to give you, kind of thing. And so now you have 3. One is very large and likes to beat things, and one is a little bit crazy, and the other one is baby, and you accidentally broke him.
Okay, so following your point, they make a pact that Ada's going to marry Callum. Is the point of that meeting?
Say that part? Oh,
it was in the intro, but that's okay.
That was to say that Aida and Callum are gonna get married.
So this is kind of where one of my favorite parts of this book starts. It is when they
spite.
It's when they start spiting each other.
Oh fuck, that's
it's
so good.
So fuck. Okay, I wrote down the. So number 1, so they're gonna get married. They're getting married in like 2 weeks because again, he's in the middle of this election. They obviously paint a story about like, oh yeah, we've been together for a while and we couldn't wait anymore, so they're gonna get married, whatever. Because also Callum needs the support of the Irish, Callum needs support of the Italians in order to like back him for this election. So it's a whole bunch of political shit going on too.
And the Italians need his support for like getting things pushed through for their builds.
It's very,
you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
I mean that's how this entire city works. And so him in an alderman position like has the power to do that all over the place too. So it's very advantageous for him. So what happens, there's a sequence of events here that happen leading up to the wedding. Number 1, Callum books a spa day for Aida.
That was after the party though.
Oh yes. No. So this is after the engagement party.
Yes.
Yes.
Because the engagement party is important because it introduces the guy that Aida was dating.
What's her face? Was it Oliver?
Ollie. Because she was dating him and then broke it off and blah 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 blah.
That has nothing to do with this saga, but it does have to do with the overarching story.
Yeah. But
he also wasn't invited.
But it also leads to a very important piece of information, being that Callum is allergic to strawberries.
Well, so that comes up in the engagement party when she's talking to the bartender.
Yeah.
She tries to order something that has strawberries in it. He's like, no. And then she asks for something else with strawberries. He's like, no, actually, there's no strawberries available. Because the mother of the groom kicked up a fuss about it. Something about an allergy. And she's like, allergy how? He's like, oh, apparently the groom's allergic or whatever.
Which is important.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, interesting. I'll tuck that away.
Yeah, which starts the spite train.
Well, it helps the spite train. Choo choo, motherfucker. So he orders a spa day for Aida.
That's
and like
fun.
and so like and she's dealing with Imogen, which is his mother, on the wedding planning and shit like this and whatever. So she's dealing with all that stuff and picking out dresses and whatever. And admittedly, she is really good friends with Nessa, or becomes really good friends with Nessa, because they're like very similar age, and they went to school together and whatever. So they know each other to a point.
Because doesn't Aida want to wear her mother's wedding dress?
No, she was lamenting they didn't have the wedding dress, but she ended up choosing one similar to it. And Imogen, actually, who I think is a really genuinely amazing character in this, because she's quietly running the show in every way.
Oh, she's wicked powerful.
Yeah, and so she suggests a dress very much like the one her mother was married in. So like obviously she had some insider information here about like, this is the kind of dress you're probably going to want. So
also
anyway,
she just wants to make her happy, so that she actually marries.
Yeah. But admittedly, like Imogen is such an underspoken character in this, but like such a powerful
I think
figure.
It really speaks to when you read some mafia romances, you really get a sense of like male dominance and like Little Women and like that whole thing. But in the development of like Fergus and Imogen's relationship, because I think that they were an arranged marriage.
They were
too.
arranged marriage, right?
Yeah, so Imogen kind of like gets it.
She's a very functional person.
Yes,
high functioning everything.
But over the entire arc of the all of the books, and I guess I can speak to this because I read all of the books, you really get a sense like she's the one. Like, yes, Fergus is the one that like
he's the muscle
runs,
in the head of it. Yeah.
But nothing gets past her. Like she has a lot to say, and is like he doesn't leave her out of a lot.
No, they very and that's the point, because like and it's interesting because he has a moment with Callum at one point where his father has a moment with Callum at one point where he's like, listen, you're building a partnership here. Yeah. And trust is more important than love. Yeah. And so that
love will come.
Yeah. Well, not even, because Fergus didn't even mention that he loved his wife, because Callum asked, do you love mom or whatever? And he was like, or did you ever love her? Yeah. And he's like, listen, there are things more important than love. And he was talking about trust and being able to like rely on each other and that kind of thing. So
They're definitely a major partnership.
oh, for sure. That's their whole function is what it seems anyways.
I nearly fucking died though when she goes in and she's like, fine, I'll get the manicure and pedicure. And then they're like,
oh my God.
And the waxing. And she's like, what?
No. Do you remember how it goes down?
She goes in.
She goes into the spa. So Aida, she goes into the spa. She's like getting like massaged and rubbed down. And she's like in her zone. And she's like, oh, this is so nice and comfy. And she's like, she loves people touching her. Like it's her whole thing. She's very like, that's her, what is it, love language? Like physical touch. And she's like just like zoning out. And all of a sudden it's rip. And she's like, what the fuck was that? Because the esthetician started waxing her while she was like half asleep. Because it was part of the...
As somebody who works in the spa industry, I think I fucking blocked part of this out because
it's very upsetting, I would imagine.
Yeah, you don't just be like, yes, no. And then whomp.
But it also comes back to like the mafia thing with like consent is a very weird creature in these kind of books.
But also,
you're not wrong from a professional standpoint, Ashton. I get it.
No, but like, how would you like? Was she getting a facial? Because
No.
there's no way a massage. Like, you have to expose the area. So, like...
she admitted... She says in this, too, that she's always naked.
Oh, yeah, that's
especially
true.
In this, too. And she loves being naked. It's her thing.
And that's fine. But there are certain positions your legs need to be in order to wax certain areas. And there's a certain fucking protocol. As somebody who has had several Brazilians done, there's a certain, like, structure to the way it works. You just go in, like, whomp, rip it off.
Ashton, there's this thing in books called plot, and they need to move along.
I get that, but again, this is why I think I blocked it out because I think I was annoyed by it.
Anyway, so this was the first.
Also,
the wax.
you'd think she would feel the wax going on.
Oh, listen.
No matter how relaxed I am, if you put hot wax,
it could be cold wax.
It could be. Excuse me.
I don't know. They have cold wax things. That's the thing.
Sugaring, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No.
Anyway,
if she was waxed, it was hot. No, you would that's like no. Anyway, that's my rant. Thanks for pointing that one out.
You're welcome.
And that was the time Ashton went on a fucking 10-minute rant about the spa industry.
Okay.
Rachel's like, shut up.
No, go on. I got all day.
I'm done.
Okay. The waxing. She did not want to wax.
Yes,
she had no interest in getting a wax. She was very upset about it. And she's like, well, I can stop. And Ada's like, it's halfway done. You might as well finish it. So she does.
I mean, one strip is not halfway done, but it's still going to make you look like a fucking skunk.
I'm sure that she was like, it's halfway done. I might as well finish it. It's like, exaggerating.
You started it. You might as well finish it.
Yes, basically. So,
it's like a reverse landing strip.
It's like an English Channel.
It's a helipad.
There's gotta be a name for it. But who in their right mind gets
It's a reverse landing strip. That just makes sense.
Put your dick on my helipad.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Swim through the English Channel.
I'd get just the front done because normally when I would get it, I know it sounds really weird, but normally when I get
just the tip.
No, see, like most people get. Here we go, TMI hours. Most people get it done because they're like, oh, I want to be all like fresh. For me, it's like, I just don't want to be painting my wrist red when I'm on my period. So clean that shit right up.
Oh.
Just saying.
The I is TM. Go on.
What?
I said the I is TM. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, yeah. So.
Okay.
I would take the middle out and leave the rest because I don't care about it.
Jesus.
I just want it clean for when I'm on my rag.
Vicious. Okay. So that, number one. So that's Callum getting at Aida. So come the wedding day, which is the next day.
Wait, does Callum what?
Getting at Aida. So like we're going.
Did he order the wax?
He did. He ordered all of it.
ordered it all.
Because he's like, I'm not fucking some ragamuffin on my wedding night. Like you're gonna be clean and tidy like everyone else.
Ragamuffin.
That's like what he used. He used the term ragamuffin.
Because her muffin is raggy. Raggedy muffins.
Just like, I don't know. I just work here. I don't know.
I don't get it.
So the next day at the wedding, she cancels his
It
tuxedo.
was the day before?
Yeah.
So she's going to have an itchy crotch through the wedding ceremony.
Oh, my goodness.
Probably still has wax stuck on there and everything because that shit's hard to get off.
Okay.
Toilet paper all stuck to it.
Doesn't matter anyway. Keep going.
Tampon strip just hanging on.
What was that about going?
I mean,
Anything else? Anything else?
Jack was just like, open the door, run through it.
Fair. So the next day before the wedding, she cancels his tuxedo and sends him an Irish suit that came out of someone's closet that smelled like mothballs. It's green and brown and gross.
It wasn't Irish. It was Italian, wasn't it? It was like it was like a classic Italian.
It was green and red, maybe. Whatever it was very clashing with everything else. That was like
brown or something, but you read it more recently than I did.
It had a bunch of weird colors. It's ugly as shit. That's all, yeah.
Because what I remember was being like, he wanted something, so she wanted something traditional. A traditional Italian suit was what I thought. I mean, either way, if she fucked him up and it was hideous and he had no time to get a new one.
Correct.
And of
course, and so this is another part where Imogen's like, we'll just put it on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like we're not fucking around with this. And it's like, so she's not even giving any of this the time of day. It's very interesting. Because Callum's losing his shit.
You can either be mad, you can either be right, or you can have this done. It was basically like, you both are fucking with each other. Stop being children.
And then Callum, no, hold on. Callum, because he wants to like get her back and whatever, instead of just kissing her on the mouth normally, like you would do in this situation, especially since he's never like hardly been in the same room as her, he like maxed down and like gives her the tongue and everything, like a big passionate kiss or whatever when he kisses the bride. However, she's been eating strawberries all day.
Oh my God. He goes into anaphylactic shock.
And so as soon as he starts like making out with her, he's like, what's that taste? I haven't tasted that in a long time. It's very weird. And then he hits the floor because he's going into anaphylactic shock because he's very allergic to strawberries.
He spends his wedding night in the hospital, and she spends their wedding night in the hotel by herself,
eating an uncomfortable amount of room service.
Yeah.
I think the phrase is something like, when I asked the concierge, or when I asked the delivery person for only one fork, they looked at me very concerningly.
Because that's the other thing too. She can eat.
Oh, she eats. Girl, she eats.
This was like a big part of the reason that I suggested this book. Is as soon as I read that, I was like, oh,
so good.
My fuck.
And so the cover is strawberries.
Yeah.
Rightly so. Like they recovered it last year, I think it was.
Yeah.
And there's strawberries on it.
Recovered.
Yeah. I have a note about those actually.
The original books were like classic man.
Yeah, I don't like those books usually. Like when it's just like, here's a man on the cover. I'm like, okay. But like, and I mean, I'm also a designer, so I'm like, that's lame.
I like it as that it like gives you an idea what the man looks like, or what but then,
like Megan Quinn does that, like the baseball. But like they're also not terrible. Like they're not cheesy or lame. So like I can get behind that.
But don't you kind of want to imagine what he looks like on your own?
I mean, depends.
Do you remember what book was it where they were like, "Hey, this person's eye color is now this because
Kaylee
of the cover."
Loring.
Yeah,
Kaylee Loring, and
because the model on the cover has different eyes, and I'm like, "Do you have Photoshop? What's up?"
Yeah, really. No. Anyway. It was the Irish book.
Yeah. Okay, so
ironically enough,
yeah, the next morning. They're back together in the same place. Like she moves all of her stuff.
Yeah.
She moves some of her stuff into his room. And so she goes downstairs to see him. He's out swimming laps, so obviously he's fine. And
she goes to apologize.
She was thinking about apologizing. Let's
Sorry,
stress that.
Do they live in the mansion with all the family?
Yeah, with his family, because that's what you want to do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Got to start something. Well, he has to live in the area that he's running in as alderman.
Yes.
So he's staying in that area for now.
Yeah.
So
ain't no other houses available.
Well, anyway, Jack, there's a whole background to that. They actually explain it, but that's fine. So she's thinking about apologizing. They're having a conversation, and then
this is like one of my favorite parts in the whole book. I'm not even gonna lie.
Pulls her into the pool.
Yeah,
and like serpentines around her, and then pulls her under.
Yeah,
and then
holds her under.
Almost drowns her.
Yeah. Trigger warning. Near death.
I did say a lot of death and whatever badness. So yeah.
That's one of my favorite parts in the book, and it seems so fucking twisted. But when he lets her up, and he's like, "Now you know what it's like to not be able to breathe." I was like, fuck, son. All right. Well, and then they go and they have the sex because they're both frustrated as fuck.
Well,
and then they fuck in the shower.
Yeah.
And then they fuck in the shower.
Yeah.
That's the end of their little saga. So.
And that's the end of the book. They fucked in the shower. And they lived happily ever after.
Imagine. We're not even halfway through the book, I don't think.
And did he win the election?
Okay. So yes. How far do I have to do? Okay, so there's like some day-to-day shit that goes on. They have a lot of there's like meetings and stuff about the alderman position.
She's still going to school, and
she's going to school. He holds what is it? There's one night he comes in and he's like,
Wear this dress.
wear this dress. We're going to this thing at 7:00. It's
Yeah.
like a fundraiser for his alderman position.
Yeah.
And or for the election rather. And who shows up at that fucking election? Number one, the Polish guy, the head of the Polish mafia
yeah.
shows up, and she kind
Zajac.
of yeah. And so he Callum is talking to him, getting frustrated, but like Ada rolls up and like kind of not placates the situation, but handles it much better than Callum does.
It's the moment that he realizes that she's actually useful, and which is a big thing for her because her father has always kept her as kind of like not a princess necessarily, but he's kept her very far out of the business, and he's always focused on the boys, kind of similar to the way Fergus does with Callum, but I would say maybe even more so because at least Fergus relies on Riona, whereas
But Nessa is a good example of a similar level that
Yes.
it is, because
Very
Nessa
much
is
so.
a princess and she is out of the spotlight. She
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the family, really.
very much so, but Nessa's very much like the soft and like princessy princess, whereas
Well, even Ada said like she's such a genuinely good and nice person, and like
Yeah.
wants to hear what you have to say and listens to what you're saying. That like she's like, how you people don't deserve this woman. Like,
Yeah.
she's so good and wholesome.
where Ada
What,
like pays attention to everything.
Yeah.
And there's at one point where he's talking to someone about there's something to do with the cops,
Yep.
and she's like, no,
Oh, it's about the fire chief, I think it was.
yeah, it was, and she's like, that's not how you get that person on board with you. This is how you like if you need to lean on this issue. And he's like, how do you know that? And she's like, well, something to do with somebody got.
She was talking about that woman. I
Yeah.
didn't write her name down, but
It
she
doesn't matter.
was one of the council people or
Yeah.
something about like the transit. There anyway, politics. It's politics
Politics,
bullshit. And
politics.
she knew the nuance of the
Yeah.
politic bullshit.
Something to do with the cops and somebody being hurt or something along those lines.
Well, it was a black lady she was talking to,
Yes.
and she's like, all she wants is for cops not to kill people or
Yeah.
stop shooting people.
Yeah.
Is what it came down to.
lean on this issue.
Yeah,
and,
lean on
and
these
like
issues.
he was like, oh, like
That makes good sense.
shit, she actually pays attention. And like same with Zajac, like knowing how to work with Zajac, she's so good at like figuring out.
Well, I had to talk to him even.
Yeah,
Because Callum is getting really angry and frustrated and wants to push his weight behind stuff, and
Yeah.
Ada's like calm and collected and having the conversation.
yeah. Well, she also pays attention. Like she paid attention to Enzo, who was like Enzo started off like rough and like not rough necessarily, but like he was hard into like the mafia and like
He was a
all of-
bone breaker, is what they called him. Yeah.
all of these things, and is now businessman, but he's still very much like feared and respected. So she's kind of seen how he interacts with people, and her father's very respected too.
Well, and one of the points to make here is that the Irish and the Italians are kind of at the level where if they don't have to kill somebody, they won't do it.
Yeah,
If they have to break some knees or whatever, okay, cool. But like they never go out of their way to kill somebody.
they
And so-
avoid conflict if they can.
Well, it's not that they avoid conflict; it's that they resolve conflict
Yes.
in a more practical way or pragmatic way, even where it's like we can come to a solution to this problem. We don't have to go kill each other because, and to this point, after they had that meeting, Enzo mentions that like you have two uncles who are dead because of that kind of bullshit. We're not doing it anymore. We're not repeating history. Like,
Yeah.
we're moving forward on it. We're making bigger families. We're not making lesser families.
Yeah,
So that was part of the reason they like struck up the marriage thing to begin with.
I love it all.
That sounds boring.
So one thing I will say though,
Where are the centaurs?
no centaurs in this show.
Where's the murdering people just for fun?
Um,
Also, you know how to talk to men. They just want a nice sandwich. So get into the kitchen, ladies.
Jack
Ouch.
says, and I guarantee you, if Bucket Knox walked in here and was like, "Hey, Jack, make me a sandwich," she'd be like, "Make it yourself and make me one too."
Nailed it.
Remember, I want extra mayo.
One point I wanted to make about this book is that Sophie Lark writes it in such a way that like most mafia romance is alpha male bullshit, and it's all like patriarchy and all that stuff, whatever. Like, and so that's like the archetype of mafia romance, and so she writes it in such a way that she's highlighting the undertone that's going on behind all of that shit, and how like it's women who are not like running the show, but they're like much more responsible and much more involved in the back end of all these things than just the men, and they're and in a different way.
And it's not just that. It's like, because I read a couple mafia romances before like coming to this one, and in a lot of them it's like the softness of the women that like curtails the harshness of the what all that stuff. But in this, it was like, no, Ada's
a hardcore.
Yeah,
she's great.
Ada's gonna bite you in the kneecaps.
She's gonna take your shit out.
Yeah.
She's put up with anything.
I super love because and it's almost like it's not that Callum's not harsh. It's that Ada's almost harsher than Callum in this.
She's like a viper. She's vicious.
Yeah, and Callum. I mean, admittedly, like after their relationship kind of evolves, like Callum becomes very soft for Aida, and Ada's still like, I'm just gonna barrel through life. Like we're just gonna do this.
I want to say at the beginning of this book, there's a dedication, and it says, "This book is for every person who's told me Aida inspired them to be strong. Aida is the unbreakable spirit inside all of us. She's the determination to laugh when life is hard, and to never ever be anything but yourself. Stay rowdy, you gorgeous babes." Yeah. And so like that's such an amazing little kind of aside about Ada's character, because like she's such a strong, independent character that like you can't tell her who she has to be. She's going to be herself regardless.
Well, and this is probably a good point to like add this in, I guess, sort of. When we pick a book, one of the things that we do is we immediately look to see if there's any kind of drama around, or like what the author is like, how the author represents themselves and that kind of thing, and
the book community in general.
Yep, and how they interact with the book community. And when I looked up about Sophie Lark, one of the things that I did find was somebody had commented on something that she had written, and she immediately was like, "Oh," and responded and dealt with it. Which
because in this book there are a few like racial slurs, is how I'll put it. Is that? Is it? But there's cultural. It's not.
I don't know if it was like. I don't think it's necessarily slurs. Because it was to the point that when I was reading it, because I remember saying it to you, like, I'm not really sure if I am comfortable with some of the things that are being said.
Should I be offended by this?
Yeah,
or should this come off as offensive?
Yeah, but then when you get into like the nuance, I guess, of it is like, this is how they would talk to each other.
Yeah.
So it's not out of place, and it's not just. And it's not blatant racism and all of these things.
I always equate it to, and listen, coming from a white person's perspective, I equate this to when I watched
trigger warning, white people.
Trigger warning for all white people. Listen, if they say it's okay, it's okay. If we say it's not okay, anyway. Luke Cage.
Oh yeah.
Luke Cage, I think is a very pop culture version of this, where I'm like, listen, the way they talk, and that's. Black people, like, that is their prerogative, and that's what they're writing, and that's their lives, and like that's white people have no control over that. That's what's going on.
Well, there are certain words that belong to certain communities and they don't belong to us.
For
and that's
sure.
what it comes down to. It's like when I talk
100%.
about like queer romance, I always get that like, am I supposed to call it queer romance? Queer's not my word, but it is queer romance, and I'm not using it in a derogatory way. But is it okay for me to say that? So should I say lesbian or sapphic or whatever the case may be? And in a lot of cases, there might be more than one person. So,
queer is such a good blanket term as well in that instance.
But it's also not our word,
that's
right? So it's not a word that I don't want to say own, because that's not the way it works. But it's not our word, and it's not ours to dictate how it's used. There are so many of them. The big one that nobody says, right? It is not our word.
Yeah,
which is what you're getting at, right? Like,
exactly.
There are just certain things that you don't say, and when you're listening to this, you're like, okay, is this me being hyper aware of it, or is this like legit?
I always have this little litmus in my when I'm trying to think about these things. If it makes me uncomfortable, it should, because I'm not supposed to respond. Like, that's not for me. So I'm like, it makes me uncomfortable because it's not for me.
But even having this conversation is like, do we have any rights to have this conversation? Because
I mean, you're allowed to have conversations.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's the whole like, you're a voice to acquire, not a voice over top of. Like, it's a
and this is why I will always fall back on the listen. If there are things that offend Black people, for example, and they are offended by them, I respect that 1,000,000%. Yeah, I will be offended for you.
Just tell me.
Like, it's not even that, but it's like, just follow what they're doing. And it's like, if something is offensive to a group of people, then it's offensive to a group of people, full stop. Yeah. And that's that. Yeah. And as white people, we're going to respond. We're going to respect that. Always respect that. We're supposed to respect that. And we will, damn it.
The Queens of Spice will respect that.
I respect minorities and what they stand for at the end. So
I don't respect white people, though.
I could take or leave white people.
But some of them make some good sandwiches.
But only the women.
Jesus.
I think you're allowed to say queer romance. Because I think, like, if someone...
If I'm not, email us and let us know.
Oh, yeah. Always feel free to email me and yell at me. I am perfectly okay with that. Yell harder, daddy. That's
like,
fine.
if someone introduces themselves as queer or...
I use queer because it's all encompassing. Instead of it just being like male on male or female on female. It's, in a lot of cases,
it's
like,
not nuanced. It's a blanket. Like I said, it's an umbrella term.
it's like sex wizards. It's a queer. I mean, it's a queer.
100% a queer. Yeah.
Because there's so many.
Well, and they identify
variety.
as a queer author as well. Like when you read their bio, like it comes off as like, I am a queer author. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
Either
So I'll, if you're using that to describe yourself, I'll use that to describe you as well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So
Then
yeah.
they fuck in the shower.
then they have sex in the shower.
She's in the shower washing on after the pool, and then she's like, "I'm not waiting for a shower. I'm fucking freezing cold and I'm wet and blah blah." So she blows in there because again, very comfortable with nudity, doesn't give a shit. And then he's like, "Bing, what's up? You have a very attractive body. Let's fuck." And
I love how your finger is going around as you're doing that, like bing.
Oh, I missed it.
And then she's like tracing the outline of a body with her finger, like. You have a hot stack of tits on you.
That's a fine piece of ass. What's up? Gonna rail it. Because they at this point they do need to consummate their marriage technically because this is a religious whatever. But so
much religion, so much religion.
You know.
Well, it is funny that because I have listened to all of them.
Yeah, this is. I should mention too. I don't think I mentioned this. This is part of the Brutal Birthright series, along with Stolen Heir, Savage Love. Bloody Heart, Broken Vow, and Heavy Crown.
And there's a whole thing in Heavy Crown where there is a marriage and it is like very important to certain people that it is at a certain place and like that. So like there is a weird like religious component to it, but then that ends up being because things get fucked, like they want to fuck shit up. So anyway, it's a whole
I always find too, like, and I don't know, and organized religion is always a funny creature, but I think at this point it's like it's more tradition than actual religion.
Yeah, 100%.
So like it's more like this is what they've always done and this is what has to be done in this family and whatever. So like I don't hold any credence on that one.
Yeah, and in the last one it's like they're setting up a whole thing and like
like a heist. Is there a religious heist?
No, they fucking shoot up the fucking wedding.
Oh, that's lame.
And someone
mafia
gets killed.
Ooh, drama.
Yeah, I was really sad.
Okay.
Like, really sad.
So moving on
Jack
to that.
looks really concerned.
We respect minorities, but not religious people.
I mean... I respect your right to be religious. I don't respect your right to shove your religion down my throat.
And I'll respect a lot of things shoved down my throat, but not religion.
I think she means dicks, guys.
Deep throat me daddy.
So the next, I think it's like a week later or something, they have this fundraiser for his campaign.
Yeah.
And that was when we got into the conversation, we went way off topic on this one, about like how she is more than just a piece of ass in this case.
Oh, yeah, how useful she is. Yeah.
Yeah, and...
does Oliver make his show up?
So that is when Oliver shows up. He was definitely not invited to that. His father is a donor to the event, but...
He wants something.
He wants something.
The father, I mean, he wants...
Oh, this is the thing. There's political intrigue all over this. I'm not going to go into a lot of it because it's a lot of bullshit. But it's just like, oh yeah, someone donated this, so you're going to make this deal for me later. Because again, it's all just... the alderman position is literally just to like take bribes and pay people off and whatever. Like it's just a power move is all it is.
It's not supposed to be that, but that's what it becomes.
Well, it's Chicago, so whatever.
Chicago.
So Oliver rolls up, and Oliver, okay, let's talk about Ollie for a second. So he and Aida dated for almost a year. Dated, quote unquote, is what I'll put in loosely. Because part of the reason she broke up with him is that she was like his dirty little secret, kind of.
Yeah.
And so she
basically thought he was like slumming at it.
Yeah, and it was like kind of faux pas that he was dating like well below his station, and she was like, part of a mob family or whatever, and he's like part of the rich kids and all this jazz. And so there's this big thing where they ran into his uncle somewhere, and he introduced Aida as his friend.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, snap, we're done here. Like, she just wasn't having it anymore, and she's like, okay, we're just done. And of course he's like kind of obsessed with her for a myriad of reasons. Well, he's not a well-adjusted person, and so he has attached a lot of emotions and feelings to certain places and things, and he just like he lays it all on her as like the best time of his life, and the only positive things that's ever happened to him have been surrounded by her.
Ooh, you can't put that on someone.
It's a whole thing. And so like that was the only joy he seemed to have in his life. And so because of that, he got like so fucking obsessed with her that he doesn't listen to a damn thing she says.
That and he's a man.
And well, I mean, there's that too. So at this party, he like, they're like out on the balcony or whatever and having this conversation. She's like, look, Oliver, you gotta fuck off. Like, we're done here. Like, I broke up with you. We're done. There's a ring on my finger. He's like, yeah, it's a bullshit marriage. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, you can still come back with me and all this stuff. Real. Yeah, right. This is like only, I think it's like 3 months after they broke up or something.
Well, admittedly too, he's like, well, the timeline doesn't make sense. That means that we'd been together, like when we were together, and like I know you weren't. Blah blah.
And I mean, like, here's the thing, I can't say anyone who knew them personally would even believe that this marriage wasn't like political or something, right?
He's
like,
the only one who cares.
He's the only one who gives a shit because this is a very normal thing that happens, especially in mafia romance and especially in the mafia circles.
Oliver Castle.
So Oliver like tries to make a move on her and is like getting handsy with her. And so of course, but here's the thing.
I have a question before you say what Callum does.
Okay.
Was this is what he bought her a dress for this?
He did, yeah. He got her a dress specifically that he made her wear, and she wasn't going to wear it. There was a whole altercation before this. She wasn't going to wear the dress. She was going to wear the dress that she wore to the engagement party. But he did this thing where he took all of the clothes out of the closet, and so all she had left was the dress to wear, and like underwear, everything. Like she was like has nothing to wear at all except this dress. And he's like,
power
and
play.
they had a showdown about it. Like they had a good stare, and she's like, am I gonna push? Because he's like, I'll pull you over, I'll drag you over my shoulder and you will go naked. And she's like, I don't think you know how much I don't care about that. She like does not give a fuck. And then she's like, I guess I'll put that dress on then. Okay. And like, conceded to it. It's such a power play.
But like, you owe me.
This is the thing, Jack. The whole thing is this big back and forth of like
not
them going to spite each other.
Yeah, but more like I'm gonna fuck shit up if you don't do the good thing. Like he's legit scared that she's gonna be like a fucking wrecking ball to his life.
Right. Okay.
And especially because they're going to this event too. And she's like, I suppose you want me to be whatever. He's like, just try not to curse so much. That's all he says to her, which is like kind of
good fucking luck.
Good fucking luck, but also that's a good caveat of being like, can you just not curse? Like, that's fine. I don't care how old you are, but whatever. So she's in this nice dress, and Oliver's like, you know, sliding his hand up her leg or whatever. And Callum fucking has been listening into this conversation they're having, number one. Because he saw them go off together. He's like, red flag, because he knows. And so as soon as Oliver puts his hands on her, he's like, snap. And just like flips his fucking shit and goes like, sees red. And like was going to throw this motherfucker off the penthouse suite of this building.
To the point that and doesn't his father stop him and was like, you're an alderman?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. His father stops him, and then Oliver's about to say something, and his father punches Oliver in the fucking face and knocks him out.
Yeah. I love Fergus.
He's great. It's great. I love Fergus too. So he takes his like, oh, my wife was just assaulted. So they put her like, get a blanket or put his coat around her and takes her downstairs, and they leave. And then
they have sex in the car.
And they have sex in the car. They fuck in the car, obviously.
Oh, babe.
Because at this point, there's so much like built up sexual tension between the two of them. Because that's
it's like the only thing that works.
It's the only thing in their marriage that they're both like, I want to rail that person. I am incredibly sexually attracted to them. Oh my God.
I mean, from the description of Callan, I'd be sexually attracted to him too.
Totally.
And Dante and Sebastian and Nero.
All the boys.
I want to read that book. Railed by the Mafia family.
Oh, Ashton, it's called Den of Vipers. You already read it.
Oh, fuck. That's right. Yeah, but I didn't like the main female character in that one.
That's fine.
Or any of it.
Listen, season 3, we'll read another Mafia romance. We're due. It's fine.
Did we do one the first season?
Yeah, Den of Vipers.
Right, okay. Was it a Mafia romance?
Technically, yeah, because they were they were
a gang. That was a wannabe mafia.
I don't know.
I mean, I can see why you would classify it as a mafia romance, but they were wannabes.
We mostly read it because it was a Why Choose, but it ended up being like very mob-like and all that stuff.
Did we read it because it was Why Choose, or did we read it because it was unhinged as fuck?
It can be both.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Why not both?
Why not both?
Tacos.
Nailed it.
Not a sponsor.
So they go home and fuck a whole bunch more after that too. And,
yep.
You know, whatever. The next day he goes up and he has a meeting with Oliver's father. And that's where they like do some serious posturing.
When did she shoot at Jack?
Okay, so I believe that is...
Because the bullet hole in the cupboard thing was a fucking riot too.
That was so funny. When did that happen?
Because Jack fucked up Sebastian's knee.
Yeah, so there's this kind of ongoing conflict with her and Jack, because Jack did fuck up her brother's, like, number one, sports career, all of it.
Yeah.
Like, he no longer can play in basketball, and, like,
he
his
gets
knee's
all
permanently
sad and
fucked.
stuff.
Yeah, legit.
He's because he baby.
He's his baby.
He
And
become not baby though. He becomes he becomes daddy.
I mean, he's 6'7". He's a stout lad.
He becomes daddy.
That's weird. Anyway,
Like, I'm gonna own all of you, daddy. So good. Anyway,
off-putting. Okay.
is it off-putting? He's older in the book a bit.
It's just weird because when you meet his character, he's very, like,
Baby.
focused and, like, not childlike, but I'll say, like, wholesome almost.
Yeah.
And so it's always a weird flip for me when you get people who are, like, not, I don't know, like a Nero. I would expect that of Nero. Do you know
Nero
what I mean?
almost goes the other direction though, because he becomes obsessed with the girl that he's with, and where Sebastian, like, his career is over. Like, he can't play, he can't get back, and he starts to, like, spiral into the mafia life, to the point that he takes over for Dante, kind of thing. Because Dante's like, I have this family, I want to have the family.
Interesting.
And also this series, because when I was looking for mafia series, there was two series by Sophie Lark that I was like, okay, I'll check both of them out. But then when I started checking the other one out, I realized that it was an offshoot of this series.
Okay.
So it's all of the kids from this series.
Is that the Sinners?
No,
Okay. 'Cause the Sinners is after that.
I don't know. Maybe.
It's the Sinners duet.
No, there's like 6 of them.
Oh, okay.
4 of them. Oh, Heir, something. It's something Heir.
Oh, was it Stolen Heir? No, Stolen Heir is one of these books.
Yes. Oh, the Kingmaker series. That's what it is, because they go to Kingmaker Academy. And so, yeah, their kids go. Anyway, so I didn't listen to that because I didn't want to, like...
Spoiled it. Yeah.
Well, then if we couldn't do it, because you would have had to listen to
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean?
Jesus.
And then I didn't want to do that to you, so... I
appreciate that.
It is on my list to listen to.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah, so Sebastian, baby... but not baby.
Okay, and so this is why she has this, like, kind of vendetta out against Jack.
Right, yeah. The shooting thing, right?
And so they have this interaction in the kitchen of their house. And she notices that Jack's, like, fucking around and not paying attention, and she sneaks up. She doesn't even sneak. She walks over to where his jacket is hanging on a chair, pulls out his fucking gun and flips the switch off, and then, like,
points it at him and,
like, cocks the gun basically, and she's like, you fucking like, just they start having it out, and he's like, you gotta calm down, and it's Callum who realizes that she's not fucking around.
Yeah.
And he like pushes her aside, and she shoots the gun into the cabinet. Yeah, because she's about to pull the trigger and fucking shoot this guy.
Yeah, and all she can think about is, like, Imogen and how Imogen's gonna respond.
Well, and then Imogen, anyway, so she basically, like, ruins Imogen's custom cabinet. There's a whole to do about it.
I just loved it.
It's very funny.
It was just one of those extra things that made me, like, love Aida as a character, because I was like, so refreshing. She's not, like, going to cow to, she is gonna fuck up the guy who fucked up her brother, even though he's not just Callum's muscle, but, like, Callum's friend. Because he was Callum's friend at school, wasn't he? And then he got into drugs.
He was he got
Selling
caught
drugs.
selling speed or something.
Something
he was
kind
also
of-
in the UFC. Like, he was a UFC fighter for many years, and he retired.
I thought he was in the army.
No, he's UFC. Because he won a UFC
No, his
championship or something.
cousin was in the army. That's important for
One of the other books.
the Dante's book.
Yeah, the cousin is in this book, actually. Because we're leading up to it. She mentions him very briefly, because he's in the car as they're leaving.
No, he hasn't seen his cousin. This is maybe a different cousin.
Maybe it's a different cousin. Okay, so, gosh, we're getting into the nuance of this book a lot. So
There's so many things that I'm just like, and
there's
this
a
is
lot
good,
that
and this
happens.
is good, and this
and
is
it's
good,
not
and this
a
is
long
good.
book. Like, it's
No.
admittedly pretty short. But there's just a lot of stuff that happens. So the building,
Yeah.
the Oak Street whatever project, somebody ends up like lighting it on fire, and they lose like a couple $1 million worth of equipment. And so this is kind of where those two families start coming together to work together. Yeah. Like, in a big way. So Callum and Aida, like, she gets the call from her brothers that this had happened. They go off to the site. There's like there's these guys that drive by trying to shoot them again. Yeah. Basically, they end up tagging 2 cops. And Aida grabs the license plate number on the vehicle. Yeah. And so obviously this, like, leads to
showing her worth.
Useful. She's like, yeah, I'm short. I can see better than you guys can.
Because being short means your eyesight's better.
I mean, where she was standing, her vantage point was much better. That's fine.
Butts. I can see butts.
Butts. So they end up on this like trip to figure out all this, because it comes back to the Polish mafia is what happens.
Because Zajac feels like he's been slighted because
he's been disrespected.
Because his 2 sons weren't considered in this alliance, and how dare he, and all of the stuff and things.
Yeah, it's a whole, I mean, again, political intrigue, and also he comes off as batshit insane.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is kind of par for the course. Because there's always a mafia guy who's like actually fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And so...
Because he's called the Butcher of Bologna.
Yeah, he's wild. The Bologna Butcher.
Bagoda.
God. Okay.
I apologize to anybody who's from Bagoda, I guess. Is that
or
a place?
Bologna. Or Poland, Ireland.
I don't know if you knew this. We have a lot of listeners in Germany. It's like 10% of our audience is in Germany. How
Hi,
cool is that?
Germany.
What's up?
Germany.
If you're listening from Germany right now, what's up? Thanks for listening.
Also, hi, James, if you're still listening.
Oh, I have a friend in Germany too.
What?
I have no friends in Germany.
We should do a live show in Germany. How fun would that be? Why not?
10% of our audience. Let's go to Germany. That's not the correlation.
I mean, I'm moving to Montreal. We have 10% of our audience there too. So, you know. Okay. So they go to hunt down this guy who, like, one of the people who was involved in the shooting. They track him down. They go, like, you know, try to beat the crap out of him to get information out of him, all this stuff. They find out about Zajac's mistress.
Oh, yeah, works at the strip club.
Who works at the strip club. And so they kind of split up. So the brothers all go to the casino that Zajac owns and, like, goes and roughs it up. And then...
and by which she means steals a bunch of shit
and breaks stuff.
Breaks shit.
And then Aida and Callum end up going to the strip joint in order to, like, find out information about the mistress, because obviously Zajac spends time there.
And Aida knows somebody who works there.
Correct. And so the person that Aida knows there, however, decides that she's asking too many questions and drugs them. However, Aida, who's fucking smart, sees this little, like, sheen on her drink, and she's like, I'm not drinking that free drink that this person just brought over to me.
And Callum does.
And because Aida has this, like, you need to learn to sip a drink, because he just pounds it back and it's gone. Like, it's like a shot. She's like, not everything is a shot.
Or is it?
Well, anyway. So he ends up drugged after this show. And she's trying to get him back to the car. And the bouncers intercede.
Yep.
And throw them both into the trunk of a car, breaking her hand at the same time. Her fingers.
She pretends to be drugged she's like, shit, I gotta, like...
play along with this bullshit, because otherwise if we get separated it's gonna be real bad or whatever.
Real bad.
So in the meantime, the brothers, like, beat up the casino, whatever.
They beat up the casino.
They take it 2 rounds.
They roll up
and beat the casino.
And they beat it up.
They beat it at Uno.
Reverse Uno. Did you see the thing with the soccer
yes!
player?
Yeah. He gives him a yellow card and he's like, reverse Uno, and he holds it up and shows everybody.
Yeah.
So good.
I was like, you're a troll and I love it, but if I was that fucking ref,
I would
want to
so
punch
mad.
you.
You have to props where props is due, though. That's funny.
Yeah, man, clever. Good job, soccer player dude that we don't know.
Well done.
Wait, it was real?
Yeah.
Oh.
Jacqueline's like, wait, this isn't made up? This wasn't in the book?
The AI did not generate that.
No. So they get captured.
And so it cuts to Callum being tortured, basically, by the butcher, by Zajac.
He's gonna give him an appendectomy
with no anesthetic.
Yep.
And Callum, of course, is like, fucking bring it on. I don't give a shit. Whatever. Fuck me up.
And then he fucks him up.
He stabs him. That's as far as he gets, because all of a sudden a fucking Molotov cocktail rolls in and starts lighting the place on fire.
Because Aida fucks shit up.
Because Aida got free from where they were captured.
Joke's on them. He already got his appendix out when he was a kid.
Well, this is another part, one of those moments where you're like, because Callum's like, oh, your brother's here? And she's like, no,
it's just me. I don't know where they are.
He's like,
they took my phone.
You did all of that yourself?
And she, like, stole someone's gun and, like, shot someone.
Yeah.
And then, like, missed a bunch of times, but then out of bullets. And it's a whole thing.
And then they go down through the fucking sewers.
So Callum pops the sewer grate and they go down through the sewers, because this is like an old butcher's or something. It's connected straight to the river or the lake.
Teenage Mutant.
And they come up in the harbor or whatever, and she regales the tale of how she managed to get out and all this stuff. And Callum's like, I'm going to marry you all over again. I love you so much. You're the best. Because you not only clever ruse, but came back and saved me.
Yeah.
He's like, yep, In love with this girl, of course.
She mine.
She mine forever.
I smell like feces, but I don't care.
Still want to do her. So
That's love, guys.
So you would think that this is the end of the conflict. That was like, for me, I was like, oh, this is the end of it. Perfect. And then
this is what I mean about the zigzag.
this is the zag.
It's a heavy zag.
So they continue on, and like obviously there's just like 2 days before the election, so there's gonna be some shit or whatever.
And Jack thinks that Ada's cheating. Jack doesn't trust Aida.
Okay, so one day she goes off to school, and because Nessa and her both like they commute to school together. But after this thing with Zajac, Jack is the one that takes them to school, and so this is a part of it, like important to remember. And so after she gets out of her class, all of a sudden there's fucking Oliver.
Oh yeah, I forget.
Runs into her and has this excuse about why he's there. Whenever they sit down and have a chat, he like kisses her, and she's like, "Please stop doing that," and then gets up and leaves and whatever. Jack noticed this. He saw this happen.
That's non-consent.
That is non-consent. Jack saw this, and then he relays that information back to Callum, she's going to tell Callum about that. But then for some reason, it gets off track. I think that part happened for the election. Anyway, there's like some timeline stuff.
Something happened.
Yeah, and so
intrigue.
Intrigue.
Insert intrigue.
So in the meantime, she's been like kind of weird about her phone.
Yeah.
And like kind of hiding texts from him, and he'd be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" She's like, "Never mind, don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And so he's like, "Oh, she's fucking cheating on me with Oliver, isn't she?" Like, this isn't like why the like Jesus Christ, but they never get to the point where they can have the conversation. Yeah. Because all the shit's going on. And so she goes off one day. It's the day he's getting sworn into office, because surprise, he wins the election. It's the day he's getting sworn into office, and he's like, "You should come to my office with me." And she's like, "I got something to do." He's like, "Is it that important?" She's like, "Yeah, I really have to go do this right now. Bye." And then leaves. Yeah. And then of course that triggers him to be like, "Jack, can you go follow the GPS on that Jeep, please, to find out where the hell she's going?"
Stalk my wife.
Basically, because he's like, she's fucking cheating on me. Like, holy crap.
Yep.
So she goes off and meets with somebody who we'll talk about later. And then as she's going back to the Jeep to leave, Oliver picks her up.
Quite literally,
and shoves her in the back of a trunk of a car, and then goes off with her. And so
kidnapping.
So Jack like goes to try to find her, and all he finds is the Jeep there with a shoe. And he's like, "What? Where does somebody go without a shoe?" And so Callum's like, "There's no way she would go anywhere without a shoe."
And then
it triggers something with Callum, and this is how it comes, because I'm like, Sophie Lark, this is clever. So way back
all of this is clever,
but way back when, he asked her why she broke up with Oliver, and she was like, "There's something about that relationship. It was like a shoe that never fit right."
Yeah.
Or a shoe that's on the wrong foot is how she phrased it.
Yeah.
And so when he sees the shoe on the ground,
it's like you're wearing your left shoe on your right foot, and that was the shoe that it was something along those lines.
It was a left shoe that was there.
Yeah.
And so it triggers him to be like, "Oh shit, I bet you this is that fucking creep Oliver again."
But in the meantime, everybody thinks that Zajac kidnapped
they
her.
go after...
The brothers go after Zajac.
The brothers all go after Zajac. That's where the cousin comes in, I think, or something. Anyway, there's a cousin somewhere. But he's like following his instinct, and he's like, "No, it's that piece of shit Oliver, I bet you." And while he was in meeting with Oliver's dad, there was a photo that was framed on his desk that had Oliver as a younger person and the family together at this cottage. And he had asked his father about it as a kind of misdirection. And the father mentioned, like, "Oh yeah, I just sold this cottage up, whatever." Like, Oliver's going to be really sad about it, because he's like really very sentimental about it for some reason and whatever.
And he's a psycho.
So this triggers Callum to go find that cottage, because he's like, it's probably empty because it's being sold. It's far away.
Yep.
And he's obsessed with it. And he's obsessed with Aida. So like put two and two together.
It was the only time he spent time with the only time his father spent any time with him.
His family.
Oh yeah, before his parents split up. No,
they're just very distant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only happy memories.
Yeah, his only happy memories are at this place. So when they sold it, he was really heartbroken about it.
Yeah.
And so obviously
he's sad. Mopey man mope.
Not in a good way. So Callum hunts this place down, and when he hunts it down, all he can smell is smoke when he finally finds this place, because that's what triggers him to be like, "What the hell is that?"
Did she light something else on fire to escape?
She did not, but Callum...
Shit, no.
So Callum sneaks up to this house, and Aida in the meantime is like, there's this little dialogue between her and Oliver.
Yeah.
Where she's like, "I'm never going to be with you, Oliver. Like, I don't think you understand how this is going to go down."
He takes her ring and like...
Yeah, he smashes a ring. He smashes her phone.
Yeah.
He throws her purse in the beach or something or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Yeah.
And so he's like, "Well, if you're not going to be with me, we could both suffer then." And he lights the house on fire.
We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die. And so Callum shows up in a nick of time to like, you know, obviously they have like scrap upstairs and like Oliver like falls into the fire and dies or whatever. Sorry, dies, quote unquote, because they never actually
Off-screen death.
Off-screen death.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. And so he rescues her and they end up going, you know, to the hospital because her hand was in a cast and they broke the cast. And anyway, it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
but
she
she
had to
grabs her
re-break the
purse on the
cast.
way out, which is very important. And
Very important.
Very important. Fast forward a little bit. Everything gets sorted out.
Happy ending.
One of her brothers gets shot, I think.
Yes.
So that gets sorted out because they all meet at the hospital basically.
And Dante killed Zajac.
Yes, Dante kills Zajac, and they're like,
Very
"Are you sure he's
important.
dead?" He's like, "Well, I don't think he can function without a head." So
Yep.
you know,
That's important because it spins off the second book, which
'Cause
is
his two
Zajac's kid,
sons,
son.
yeah.
Hold my beer, say chickens.
So I think in like the kind of epilogue area or like the last chapter or whatever, there's this scene where he goes and buys her a new ring
Yeah.
and she picks it out and whatever. And then there's this, at the end of the scene, she gives him
His grandfather's watch.
his grandfather's watch, which she threw into the lake.
But he thinks it's a replica.
He's like, "Oh man, this is really good
how
replica."
did you get this so? And she's like, yeah. So this guy who does like dives and stuff and like,
He looks for hidden treasure.
yeah.
And has a YouTube
Hidden
channel.
treasure.
And so that's who she was contacting quietly over the text,
And
not
he
to
has
be like
a YouTube channel.
he does.
He does. He like
So modern.
records. He records while he's doing his divings.
Love it.
YouTube, modern technology.
YouTube.
And then so obviously like lovey whatever, they fall in mad love with each other. The epilogue, if you recall, is the thing about her mother's, which we kind of glazed over, her mother's piano, because her mother was a pianist.
Oh yeah.
So her father is very sentimental.
I love Enzo.
He's such a sweet man.
Why is her
it
mom dead or something?
Yeah, her mom passed away when she was like 4 or 5.
Same.
You were not 4 or 5 when your mother
No.
passed away.
5. Actually, in Nero's book, you get more about like the mom's dad, and he was the last person to like see her alive. And
Oh,
he like
God.
was hiding in the room when she
Well,
died.
That's the thing. She died of like an illness, like
Yeah.
of what was it?
I don't know,
It was-
dysentery.
Typhoid.
No, it was like meningitis or something. It was something like
She stopped breathing.
Yeah,
His father told him to leave your he said leave your mother alone. She needs her rest. And he went in to see her because he hadn't seen her in a while, and she dies while he's in the room. Spoiler alert.
Ooh.
And so he gets really fucked up about
Yeah,
it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And so that's why it was family stuff. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, Nero. Fucking Nero. Ugh, love Nero.
So
Until he gets domesticated, and then I don't like Nero anymore. I like him a little bit fucked up. Okay.
yeah, I mean you got it 10% at least.
But he's like the actual father, right? Like not just a daddy, but he's like,
Enzo?
Nero or Enzo?
I don't know.
Enzo's their actual father.
Who's Nero?
The brother.
He's one of the brothers.
I said Sebastian was daddy.
Oh, Sebastian becomes daddy later. He's the youngest brother.
No.
They all become daddies at some point.
Who did you
Well-
say you loved?
Sebastian?
All of them.
Enzo? I love
Dante?
Enzo.
Dante?
Enzo.
Enzo's
But-
the dad.
Enzo's their dad. Like,
So you love the father. That's what I was saying.
yeah, he's a great, like, he's like overarching, like super supportive of his kids, and like he likes playing chess with Sebastian, and he's got like little pieces of each of them.
He plays chess with Callum. So this is
Yeah.
how Callum finds out to get, because her birthday's coming up,
Yeah.
and he wants to do something really special, and he has a weekly chess or whatever match with her father, and he's like, "What should I get her?" And he's like, "You give her the piano, her mother's piano, which is up in their attic."
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, I couldn't do that," and blah blah blah. And Enzo's just like, "No, it's settled. Grab the piano." And
You
so they,
just grab it.
well, so
He's
they
staring
out of his shoulder.
So
Hulk
Jack,
style.
here's the thing about this is that they try to get the piano out of the house, but the house was like built around this piano.
Right,
So they can't get
right.
it out. So what they do is the boys go on a heist and they heist a piano from this like school of music nearby, like at the university.
Okay.
Because it almost is the same. And then that's
Okay.
when Nero like rails somebody there too. That was another part of it.
I don't remember any.
Because there was, anyway, it's in the epilogue. But
What if this was added? Because I don't remember any.
oh,
of
it may
this.
have been because there's an additional one too. If you scan the QR code, it takes you to yet another one after that.
Oh.
So
I was getting really confused. It's like I'm pretty sure that in Sebastian's book, his girl plays his mother's piano
yeah,
because it's
because
in
they
the house.
they couldn't get it out of the house.
Yeah.
So they go get this other piano, and when they steal a piano, they heist it real good.
Yeah.
It's in the back of this sketchy ass van, and as they're driving away, they get T-boned by another vehicle, and so the piano gets destroyed, and so he puts the piano, all the pieces of it, upstairs in their, because they went and got their own apartment. And
Oh
stuff.
yeah, it's in the old church or something.
Yeah, and so he's like, I got you a present, and he's like embarrassed because Callum doesn't fuck shit up like this, and so it's like heartbreaking for him.
I really don't think I read this.
And so she comes home, and she was out with a spa day with his sister Nessa.
Yeah.
And Nessa's like got her eyes on her, but like, something about you, something weird. And then
Oh,
she's like,
yeah,
go take
yeah.
a pregnancy test, and she does, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
turns out she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's again, they always end in pregnancy.
Did she get waxed again?
No, she specifically did not get waxed.
Okay.
No reverse landing strip.
There was a joke
Fair.
in that actually because he was like, she was like, I booked a spa day. He's like, did you, or no, he was like, I booked you a spa day. And she's like, did you book that thing? He's like, I booked Nessa the same stuff. So no.
Right. That I
Yeah.
do remember.
So that brings us to the end of the book, but I'm going to get Jack to read something real quick. Oh, sorry. Question. What up?
Why didn't he just buy her a fucking piano? Like, if he couldn't give her
It's
her
like a
mom's
rare-
piano.
Okay, so this is like a very antique piano. It's not a thing you can buy anymore.
It's like super rare.
It's like
and stuff.
super, super rare and old and weird. And not to mention, it was the day of like her birthday that day. Like they had planned, they planned all this to move this piano because it was going to be the one. There was no contingency plan in place because they didn't need one.
So in typical mafia style. Stole it.
They heisted a piano, which
So
I love.
Was the heisted one like really old too?
Yes, it was of the same vintage and had the very similar like.
It was
kind
like
of
the
scroll
exact
work and
same
stuff.
piano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought they just like stole a random piano.
No.
Yeah. Your mom's piano is white. This one's gray.
Pretty sure you could just go to Long and McQuaid and buy a new one.
They probably don't have Long and McQuaid in Chicago.
The Chicago Institute of Music store.
In the store.
Okay, Jack, I'm gonna get you to read something.
He's shoving me up the staircase, pushing me so hard and fast that my feet barely touch the ground. He keeps rocketing me along until we're all the way down the hallway and through the doorway to our room. Only then does he release me, slamming the door behind him. He turns around to face me, his pupils contracted to pinpricks so his eyes look bluer and colder than ever. No longer vampirically pale, his skin flushes with color, his jaw rigid from how hard he's clenching it. Look, I say, I know that got a little... He crosses the space between us in one stride, seizing a handful of my hair. He jerks my head back and kisses me ferociously. It's the last thing I was expecting. All the defiance goes out of my body. I sink against him, limp with relief. I think he's forgiven me, or that he at least understands why I did it. I immediately realize I was very wrong in that assumption. As soon as our chests touch, I can feel his body is still burning and shaking, every muscle throbbing with the effort of containing the emotion inside him. His tongue fills my mouth, his lips grind against mine, so hard that I can feel my own lips starting to swell. He's crushing me against him, still determined to subdue me even though I already submitted. It's only when my knees are literally buckling beneath me that he picks me up and carries me to the bed. He pulls my shirt over my head. Like a child, I cooperatively lift my arms. Once the shirt is above me, he pulls my wrists back down behind me, the cotton t-shirt still wrapped around one arm. Swiftly, Callum crosses my wrists, using the twisted shirt as a rope to knot them together. Then he unbuttons my shorts. With one hard jerk, he pulls both shorts and panties down around my knees. I feel very stupid standing there, my arms bound behind my back and my ankles effectively tied as well, unless I want to try to step out of my shorts without falling on my face. Callum, I say hesitantly, can you... Callum is in the process of unknotting his tie. He pulls it from around his neck and approaches me with the material held taut between his two hands like a garrote. I'm mildly concerned he's about to strangle me. Instead, he gags me with the tie, cutting me off mid-sentence and knotting the tie tightly behind my head. I taste the raw silk against my tongue. Must be expensive. I have a vague idea that Callum plans to tie me up and leave me here as punishment for shooting at his employee. I soon realize Callum has no intention of leaving. He sits on the edge of the bed and roughly pulls me onto his lap. He throws me over his thighs so my face is down by his shins, my bare ass up in the air. In a flash, I realize what he's planning. I start to wriggle and squirm, trying to kick my feet free of my shorts, shouting through the gag, "Don't you dare!" though it comes out more like, "Dur-doo-da." Callum lifts one large, strong hand and brings it whistling down on my bottom. There's a sharp cracking sound, almost as loud as the kitchen gunshot. An instant later, stinging hot pain rushes in. "Urgh!" I shriek through the gag. Smack! I didn't even know he lifted his hand again, and he's already spanked me in the same spot, even harder this time. Smack! 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 His precision is vicious. Each hit is landing in precisely the same spot on my right buttock, making it feel like it's been dipped in gasoline and set aflame. I'm kicking and trying to roll off his lap, shouting all kinds of curses. Callum has me pinned tight, his left hand bearing down between my shoulder blades, while his right hand administers the punishment. I give one particularly vigorous struggle. Callum barks, "Hold still or you'll get twice as many." That only makes me kick harder. How fucking dare he try to spank me? How dare he threaten me? When I get free, I'm going to punch him right where I shot him, and then I'm going to kick him someplace worse. Smack! Callum brings his palm smashing down on the left side. Fuck! Why does it hurt even more? How is he slapping me so hard? He's like a jockey whipping a horse. Smack! 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 I've never actually been spanked before. I can't believe how it's making my ass burn and throb. Callum told me to hold still, but I can't. I can't help flinching away from the next blow, squeezing my legs together and squirming on the hard surface of his trousered thighs. This is having its own embarrassing effect. I am naked after all. The squeezing and squirming of my bare flesh against the fine wool of Callum's trousers create a whole lot of friction in very inconvenient places. My nipples are rock hard inside my bra. I feel warmth and wetness between my thighs. I can't see it, but I suspect my cheeks are burning as red as my ass. I stop struggling, mostly because I don't want to make myself any more inadvertently excited than I already am. I also don't want Callum to notice. It's fucking humiliating. If he realizes the effect this is having on me, I'll never be able to look him in the face again. But he already knows. He's so goddamn perceptive. The moment I stop fighting him, the moment my breath changes and I tense, he stops the spanking. He pauses for a moment, his heavy palm resting on my throbbing buttocks. Then he starts kneading my ass gently. The rubbing feels unutterably good. It's like the time I stole one of Dante's special brownies and ate the whole thing before getting a massage. Each squeeze of Callum's hand sends pulses of pleasure running down my neurons, making them glow like a string of Christmas lights. Without meaning to, I moan and press my thighs against the outside of Callum's leg. "You like that?" he growls, his voice lower and rougher than ever. His fingertips dance down the crevice of my ass before slipping between my thighs to find confirmation of what he already suspects. Sure enough, his fingers slide easily across the slick surface of my cunt. "I thought so," he breathes. Without warning, he plunges 2 fingers inside me. I let out a deep, desperate groan. My pussy is so swollen and warm that those fingers are the most pleasurable things that have ever been inside me. They feel tailor-made, super-powered, as custom fit as one of Imogen's fucking cabinets. Callum slides his fingers in and out, enjoying the anxious pleading sounds I'm making around the gag. Oh my god, I want to be fucked. I want it so bad. I feel like I could be willing to die after if I could only get what I need for 5 straight minutes. Look what you did. Callum touches the wound on his left arm. When he brings his fingertips down in front of my face, I can see they're shining with fresh blood. I've had enough of you flying off the handle, Callum says. It ends tonight. From now on, you're going to be the wife I was promised. Helpful, useful, obedient. Hooking his arms under my body, Callum stands, lifting me off his knees. He throws me face down on the bed, wrists still bound behind my back, and knees bent under me so my ass points up in the air. I hear a button popping and a zipper going down. Callum's strong, warm hands grip my hips, the right one disappearing momentarily as Callum lines his cock up with my entrance, then returning. He rams inside me with one thrust of his hips. He goes all the way in, bottoming out with the front of his thighs flush against the back of mine. He grips my hips tight, letting his cock stay fully sheathed so deep that I feel the head throbbing against my cervix. Only then does he pull out again, almost all the way, before thrusting all the way back in. He does this several times, letting me appreciate the full length of his cock. Then he starts fucking me hard. Harder and faster, our bodies slamming together with a sound not as sharp as the spankings, but more rapid and insistent. To be desperately aroused and then aggressively serviced like this is just so satisfying. On the level of popsicles on a hot day, or a bratty kid falling on their face, I am at peak happiness. I don't just want this, I fucking need it. Then Callum really starts to torture me. He reaches around my hip and finds my clit with his fingers. He lightly teases me with his fingertips before gradually increasing the pressure. I'm panting and moaning into the gag, trying to buck my hips to get more pressure on just the right spot. Callum isn't giving in to me. He knows what I want, but he's denying it. His arm is wrapped tightly around me. He's still thrusting into me deeper and deeper. He leans over and growls in my ear. Are you going to be a good girl, Aida? My good little wife? I'm whimpering, almost begging. I don't want to say it. God damn him, I don't want to say it. Tell me, Callum croons. Tell me you'll be a good girl. No way. I'm not going to do it. I'm totally going to do it. Squeezing my eyes tightly shut, I nod. Callum presses hard against my clit. He rubs me in time with his thrusts, just in the right spot, just the way to make me accelerate through the stratosphere. Blast off. We've left the planet, ladies and gentlemen. It's pure flaming stars up here. I'm floating, flying, zooming at 1,000,000 miles, experiencing a kind of pleasure that I've never even imagined before. Hard, fast, endless. I lose all sense of what Callum is doing. I'm just gone. I don't come back to Earth until Callum pulls me into his arms, wrapping them tightly around my body. He's taken off the gag and the makeshift handcuffs. I'm lying naked on his chest, all his clothes stripped off too. My body is rising and falling with the rhythm of his breaths. His chin nestles against my temple. His breathing is steady and peaceful. His arms are warm and gentle around me. I don't know if I've ever felt his body this relaxed. I've seen him stiff and controlled, but never calm. Did you get there too? He kisses the side of my head. Of course. That was what exactly? Insane? Shocking? Confusing? Breathtaking? Unforgettable? I know, Callum says. There's a long pause. I can't help asking. Have you ever done that before? Another long pause in which I think he won't answer. Then, finally, he says, Not like that. Dear Lord, I'm a pretty opinionated girl. I thought I knew what I liked and what I didn't like. But I might have just discovered a whole new category.
Thanks for that, Jack.
Yeah.
That was kinky. So that was right after she tried to shoot Jack, and she ended up shooting the cabinets. She actually like winged Callum at the same time, which is hence the bullet
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't mention that before.
I forgot to. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, she just like nicks him on the arm basically, and he starts bleeding. That's the thing. And
But
then
he gets to be a baby.
so
about
he does
it.
well, and Callum does this thing too. I should have mentioned when he gets angry, like fucking angry, it for some reason translates to horny.
I mean, same.
It's a big emotion. And you need an emotional release.
Whenever I got, well, not recently. Now when I get stressed, I just cry. But thank you, hormones. But like before, I get really upset and like angry / anxious, and yeah, that would be my go-to. My poor partner, poor partner.
I
Just
can
the
see there
worst.
being a fine line.
Yeah, now
It's
he's
an
like,
emotional release thing.
now he's like, can you please get angry?
You won't like me. Just that's
Can
my
we go
that's
back-
my surprise.
Yeah, can we go back to when you got like horny angry? I don't like this like sad angry. Stop crying.
That's my trick. I'm always angry.
I'm
Okay.
always horny. That's what it would
So
translate
then
to.
you're never horny.
Potato.
So speaking of potatoes, do you want to rate this book on
Strawberries?
Strawberries.
Or bullet holes in cupboards.
There's only one bullet hole in the cupboard.
Strawberries.
Let's say a dozen strawberries. Dozen's a good round number. Jack, what do you think? How you feeling about this book?
I don't know.
Compared to the last few books that we've
pretty
reviewed,
tame.
she's probably like, this is like dumb.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. Like, what
It
even,
has a story. What the
like,
fuck
what
is
even
that?
happened?
There's a lot of plot, tons of plot.
Who are these people? And I don't really care.
No weird penises. Just
I don't feel like attached to anyone. Or,
Did you feel attached to the centaurs?
I mean, maybe a little splat, but like,
the way that was just effortlessly like splat.
just slide that in there.
Did you just say just splat that in there?
No, I said slide.
Oh, I heard just splat that in there.
I mean, that works too. But yeah, I don't know. It's like the part that I just read, like it seemed kind of okay. But like, I don't know.
It's like a normal romance book, kind of. Like as far as
Yeah.
romance goes, like
It's standard.
here's
Like,
the thing. I think I might have broken you with the last couple of them, so that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the kind of book Rachel avoids unless
I really anyway.
Is
I
this
enjoyed
the
this book.
kind of book that like normal people in the romance world like?
Maybe. Hard to
It's
say.
because it's really not.
I mean, mafia romance is niche. Like people are
Yeah.
into mafia.
I know
romance.
lots of people who
Oh
aren't.
yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
give it 3 strawberries.
Okay.
Spank, spank, spank.
3 spanked strawberries.
Why are we spanking the strawberries?
Oh, they were spanking the book.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He had
But
to
not
teach
with
her a lesson.
strawberries.
But like, I don't want to kill him. So like 3 strawberries and an EpiPen.
Okay, that's reasonable. I appreciate that.
EpiPen.
I think I'm gonna give this book like a solid 9.
That's what I was going. Honestly, that was what I was gonna say.
Cause like mafia romance is good. This is a good mafia romance too, is what I'll say.
Yep.
And like, cause the couple I've read, like, this is just so well rounded. It's almost like it doesn't feel like a mafia romance because of that.
Yep.
And because like, and Sophie's like, she's a good author. I'm encouraged to read some more of her stuff to see if it's evolved at all. But
And what I liked about it, having done the whole series, is that it's not like the same fucking story
I can appreciate
every
that, yeah.
time.
Well, and to that point though, this is a very kind of unique, like the strawberry turn. I knew it was coming because you had told me about it
Yeah,
ages ago. But like, such a fucking good little like Easter egg, not
The
Easter egg, but like,
zigzags.
oh my god, the zags in this book are so good.
Yep.
And like when they're going back and forth about all that shit, like the second time I was reading
Yeah.
it, I was so into it. And it is kind of a short read, is what I'll say too. It seems like a thicker book, but it like I think I read it in like 4 hours maybe. Like it's not a long book. And I just really like I did really genuinely enjoy it. It was lacking in some areas of I don't know. Like I don't know what it is. There's something about it that like
It wasn't dark. It wasn't dark like I would expect a mafia romance to be.
I think maybe
that was my big thing.
Is that like when you say mafia romance, I've got a vision in my head. I've got a feeling in my head about it, and I'm gonna feel a way about it. And I did not get this out of that book. Like that book is almost wholesome, compared to most mafia romance books. And so like in that regard, it is like a good, well-rounded book. Yeah. As a mafia romance book, it is lacking in some of those areas. Now, I don't want that to mark against it too bad. So, like, solid 9. I might even round it up to a 10. But, like, it is a very good book. I'm excited to read the rest of the series, which I do want to do. Characters were great. World building's very good. But, yeah, it was just, like, it was a good book. It was good. It wasn't spectacular, but it was good.
Well, considering the book that we were originally chosen was very mafia-heavy, but the author very lackluster.
This, again, the author situation where it's, like, sometimes you come across authors and you're like, shit, like this book will be perfect, but I just can't support this author in this regard.
Yeah,
especially
authors, stop doing that.
I mean,
stop being racist.
Happens, but like, and some people, like maybe some people don't care, but like the fact that we have a platform of some sort that we're trying to promote books, and especially like some authors aren't as well known, I would prefer to do that in more positive light than a negative light. So, if we do, and admittedly, like if we miss something about an author, please do let us know, and we'll like try to sort that out. But we try our best to vet the authors before we go for it. But yeah, Sophie. I mean, good author, great story.
I'd read more of her stuff.
I absolutely read more. And it's very like, I don't want to say pedestrian, but very accessible. Like it's not.
Well, it's like
Fourth Wing. Complicated.
Yeah, it was like getting into Fourth Wing as a fantasy novel. Like Fourth Wing was a good book because it was accessible to a lot of different people. Yeah, and it was easy to read. In that I found this series to be like that. And like, admittedly, like throughout the other ones, you have little pieces. Like yes, it's a mafia family, and yes, it is like all of this stuff. But then there's like little pieces like Broken Vow, I think it was, had like a little bit of like Wild West and like there's a lot of different things in it. That in all honesty, I really like this. Like I said, I would rate it about a 9 too. Now, Heavy Crown would have gotten a much higher rating for me because it did feel very, very mafia. And that, like, you're getting a lot of heavy, like, mafia in fighting, where this was, like, mafia fighting with, like, extra stuff. Heavy Crown is, like, mafia shit. Like, intrigue, like, all of the things. As a series, I really enjoyed it. And I will, like I said, do the Kingmaker series. So...
Yeah, and I can really respect that Sophie like was trying to do something different in a mafia romance in that regard.
She just wrote a good book,
and I think at the end of the day, she wrote a good book, and it wasn't contingent on being a mafia romance per se.
Well, and like I said, you said it's accessible. So if you don't like mafia necessarily, you might even enjoy it because it's not like it's mafia without feeling like heavily saturated mafia.
Well, and along your point too, if someone like asked for a mafia recommendation who had never read mafia romance before, I might even start them here.
Yeah, hands down. Unless for example, like I've got people in my world that ask for recommendations, and I know like they have gone down the dark romance hole. Sorry, not sorry. I probably put them on that path.
I would not apologize for art.
I might gear towards a more like
a darker romance.
Darker mafia romance. Yeah. I liked it. But I'm also a whore for like everybody having family, like, and everybody being a family.
This is like a wholesome book at the end of the
babies
day.
And like everybody's pregnant and having kids.
And like it's like it's like a hardcore enemies to lovers in like the most straightforward way you could possibly have it. Like they fucking hated each other. Yeah. And then they straight up were like, I will never do anything in my life without you ever again. So like very like hard right turn at one point.
And you see that throughout the whole series too, like how Ada and Callum are like the blueprint for like Callum worships the ground that she walks on. He respects her. She has much more autonomy in his family than she had in her family, which is not against her father. It's just he's a very old school Italian.
But Imogen runs that household in such a way that like she has that like she sets the precedent for what women should be in that house. And again, like why she's such a like the female characters in this are great. Yeah. Like in that regard.
Yeah. So good.
Which is very un-mafia-ish kind of. Usually it is and it's just more like a male dominated kind of tropes, I guess, in general. So.
Well, because it's not the weak like I can think of one off the top of my head, which I wanted to like. I really, really wanted to like. And he was like kind of the butcher character in this and in it. And like he was covered in scars and she was a mute. And like, I'm like, this is all the things. It's like, this is going to be. And I'm like, why? I just wanted so much more.
It's a good recipe.
And it was dark and gritty. And that's the word, gritty. It's like,
oh yeah, this is not gritty.
Yeah. I mean, but what it lacked in grit, it made up for in zigzags.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love it when a book is like here, there, and I'm like, wait, what? And like you kind of see it coming, but then like, and there are pieces that you kind of think are going to happen, but then the way to get there is like unprecedented to a point.
Like Sophie wrote, like the story in this went in a great way.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with that. And that's like, again, why I rate it so high.
Yay, Sophie.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Sophie. Great book. Love it. Talking about other books though. Jack, what have you been up to?
Bucket Nuts and I, along with my sister, went to a comedy show, which isn't a book, of course, and it's not listening. Well, it is listening, but you know, it's not like TV or anything crazy. But we went to a comedy show. Have either of you heard of Lisa Baker? She's like TikTok famousy.
Is she from Newfoundland?
She is from Newfoundland.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we
Why do I not know her actual name? Lisa Baker. Okay, she's great.
Yeah, she was super funny and
Like hard Newfoundland.
She's such a newfie. I love it so much.
Yeah.
super newfie.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
She doubles down on being a newfie too. It's so good.
And on her website, it had like a little picture that was like, feeling cute, might tell dick jokes later. I was like, oh, I'm going to
Same,
like this.
Lisa. Same.
I love that.
Because I hadn't heard of her before, and I'm not sure if I like saw any of her TikToks, so I was just like going in kind of blind, and I was like, all right, cool.
That sounds great.
But yeah, I was like dying laughing.
Yeah, she's such a good character.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Super funny.
So go follow her on TikTok too.
Oh my God, yeah, she is who I think she is. I fucking, I was like, wait, is she? Isn't she?
Yeah.
She talks so fast, and I fucking love it. I'm like, if I were a newfie, I think like, hard same. Like, I fucking love everything about her.
She had this one joke. It was like very involved about like an IUD and whatever, and like she was talking about her fupa and how it's like not the same as your stomach and like all this other stuff
Resonating heavily with me. Yes.
and, so apparently so this was like her first IUD that she's ever had, and she was like super psyched because it's just like, I can just go fuck people now. Like she was super pumped, and apparently it had started to fall out or something, like and she saw like strings when she went to the bathroom, and she was pretty confused, and she named her fupa Mildred, and she was like, what, is Mildred growing whiskers? And I like was crying laughing. It was so funny.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing, Jack. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I'm happy you got to go see her. That's amazing. I wish I had known she was around.
Right? Ash, what have you been up to? You eat anything good?
I mean,
Objectively.
I read Forget Me Not by Julie Soto, which is she is a Hermione and Raylo author.
Getting them published.
Yeah.
Like in the same book?
No. She's
Fanfic author.
She's a fanfic author.
Yeah, okay.
She wrote The Auction, which is one of my favorite Hermione fanfics, and she also has Raylo fic that she had up, which she has taken down, and it's going to be the next one, I think, in the series. It's about Amma, and she is a wedding planner. Her mother has been married 16 times. So
Holy
she doesn't,
shit.
Yeah, so she doesn't necessarily believe in, like, the longevity of marriage.
You don't say.
But she believes in, like, the party and, like, the being together. And so she's...
Celebrating love.
16
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And it's really fun because she gets a lot of her like step siblings or ex step siblings to work with her. So she's kind of she worked at a bigger company and she split off on her own because she wanted to do like more personal like weddings. And she gets approached by Hazel Renee, who is a influencer, and she's like, holy shit, like I wear this girl's makeup, like this is incredible. And so Hazel is getting married to her partner Jackie, and Jackie had been recommended to use Amma and as their wedding planner. And so she's like, cool. And so like, what do you have in mind? And she always brings donuts to her meetings. Love that. And so they're like, we're only set on 2 things. We want to get married in this specific, like it's a rose garden or something like that. And she's like, okay, great. And we have a florist. And she's like, okay, cool. Well, there's only so many florists that are allowed to work within this rose garden. And they're like, oh yeah, no, he's allowed. He's one of like, what? And she's like, wait, he? And so their florist is the only male florist who is allowed to work in the rose garden, who is also the guy that she was dating ish, but wasn't dating. And like they split. And so she doesn't work with him. And she's like, maybe I can't, maybe, you know that. And so they start having to work together. And it's like her moving forward in the story versus him telling their backstory. And it's Teddy Hamilton voices Elliot. His name's Elliot Bloom, and he runs Bloom. Yeah.
Please.
And it's fucking adorable. And like, there are a lot of things in it where I was like, oh, of course this is going to happen. But then it's not quite what you'd expect. Like, oh yeah, he's going to tell her that he loves her. And like, that's not quite how it happens. And that's not why she panics. And so you're getting all these little things where, oh yeah, of course this is going to happen. And it kind of does, but it's like a twist to it, which I really like. I appreciate being able to predict because it's that comfort, like, okay, the foreshadowing was good here, but also the foreshadowing versus like keeping me on my toes. I'm like, that's clever. And I love that, like, yeah, of course she's going to do this. And yeah, that does happen, but then she's kind of anyway, it's just, and it was just so cute and adorable. And like her big thing is like, the proposal stories are how she judges like how long a couple is gonna last, like based on like whether or not he did something or she did something that was like grandiose and the other person isn't, versus like the things that matter. She's like, you guys are gonna last. And it's just, it was adorable. I fucking loved it. And and the guy's name was Elliot. So I was like, I had to like
you have a bias. That's fine.
Yeah, like, oh, my pupper doggers. He was in a book. Not really. That's weird. That's creepy. A
little bit.
And like the spice was good.
Mm-hmm,
like we love some spice.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And like I also, this is gonna sound really fucking weird.
Go on.
I love it when a male character is so pumped and like so into a situation that he almost comes in his pants, or if he does come in his pants, even fucking better. Like, I know that
is that like when your dog pees the floor when he's happy to see you?
That's a really strange.
I thought so.
Cool. Yeah. Oh no. But like, I love. Like,
you made it weird. I had to make it weirder.
Well, I love reading a guy getting so into a thing that he's like, oh my god, and like. Especially when they're like, I'm 28 years old and I came in my pants, or I'm like, whatever. Like,
it's like a teenager thing.
Yeah.
What thing is he getting so into?
The making out, or the dry humping, or the whatever. Okay. Not just like, oh my god, there's a cheeseburger. I came in my pants.
Sure.
Okay, what kind of cheeseburger are we talking about now?
I know, right?
Not the kind at 4 a.m, Rachel.
That was a really good cheeseburger.
What cheeseburger did you have at 4 a.m?
You know what? It was just a McDonald's cheeseburger, no pickles. But it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I just woke up and I was driving to Montreal. It was. Yeah. It's all about the setting when it comes to cheesy bee.
Mm-hmm.
Cheesy bee. Anyway, I like, if that's in a book, there's a good chance I'm gonna fucking lose my mind over it, because it's like
supposed to be like so embarrassing and like whatever, but it's like kind of hot.
It's a compliment.
It's like, god damn, like you're so into this right now that you're fucking.
I find it endearing.
Yeah. It's a bit of a compliment, I would say.
Yeah.
And like, especially when they're like shit, or like.
Also, I love a man who's like in his own head sometimes.
Listen.
Like as a character, like
yes.
that's yeah.
Or like Sarah J. Maas, Silver Flames. When Cassian and Nesta, and he like obsesses over the fact that she got him off. Like that kind of thing. I'm just like, I love it. Like the female dominant and like female owning their shit. And then the guy being so swept up that they're like, oh my God. Yeah, I don't know. I just love it. And this had that moment where he was like,
worship me harder, daddy.
Yeah, like
worship me harder, dad. I love that. That's our new tagline.
Worship me harder, daddy.
Yeah. That's my new tagline.
I don't think that matches up with you walking downstairs going, I want to be a little. That's very conflicting energy.
Wait, when did I say that? Today?
Yes.
Oh.
Spoilers. We can't talk about that yet. Okay. What was that book again, Ash? Sorry.
It's Forget Me Not by Julie Soto.
Okay.
And also, sorry, I know
Last
you're
point.
like, stop.
No, I got a gem. Go on.
So when the wedding is going down, she like gets the cellist to take over part of the whatever, and then she has to get a chord from the cellist. In the Raylo fanfic she's turning into a book, the main male character is like this big cellist violinist guy. So it's like, it was that little piece that I was like, oh, it's him, it's him. And I got super excited.
That's
anyway,
cute.
What do you
I
read,
love
Rachel?
Easter eggs.
I really thought like this guy that you were talking about was getting like super pumped about Lego and like coming in.
A man after my own heart. Oh my God, the Death Star Lego.
It's only weird because I just gifted both of you Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Rachel, responsible for people's orgasms without touching them.
Since 1985.
Worship me harder, daddy.
Worship me harder, daddy.
Well, we did say you have big daddy energy.
I do. Thank you.
What? Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Daddy, mommy.
Baby. That's okay. Stay tuned for that one. Okay, so Jacqueline,
Yes.
I read a book.
Okay.
It's called Get in My Swamp.
Get in my swamp.
It's by.
You had me read that while I was drinking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Continue.
Peach tea may have just come out Ashton's nose.
Oh, something burns.
It's by GM Ferry, which I'm pretty sure is a pen name. It is Shrek erotica.
Ew.
It definitely is because J.M. Barrie wrote Peter Pan.
Fairy. Oh, I see. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. When Leona stumbles upon Beck, the ogre.
Leona and Beck.
The ogre's trap and becomes his prisoner, she's determined to get away, but it doesn't take long for things to start heating up between the two. Beck is trying to protect her, and Leona can't help her body's reaction to the buff green monster. The lines between captive and captor become blurry, and the passion becomes a raging fire neither of them can put out. This is literally just Shrek erotica.
If there was anything that was considered a DNF, this has got to be it.
I can't. It
How
was an experience.
long was it?
It's not super long. It was like 120 pages or something. 140
Okay.
pages. Yeah.
So you didn't dedicate like hours of your life to this?
Oh gosh, no. It was like an evening. Like I spent an evening reading it. And Jacqueline, man,
Is there Donkey in it?
Yes, Donkey's in it. Here's the thing though. Shrek beats the shit out of Donkey in it.
What?
Because Donkey's trying to pick up Leona and he's like, "What the fuck, man?" and then beats him down. It's insane.
Then Donkey goes and fucks a dragon.
I think that's in the second book.
Is the Donkey
Oh, there's more than one.
Yeah. It's called Stay in My Swamp is the second book.
Stay in my swamp.
I didn't read that one yet, so don't.
Never leave my swamp.
There's a really weird part in it that I need to talk about because it bothered me a lot. So Leona originally lives in California, I think, and then she ends up in, I think it's Louisiana or something for some retreat thing. Anyway, there's
That's
a
where
reason
the
they come.
swamp
That's
is.
where the swamp is.
That makes sense. Checks out.
And like it's kind of a what is it called? It'd be like a supernatural area where like all of these critters and people and whatever. And ogres, for example, are like in a protected area almost. And so like the government knows about them, but like no people are allowed in here. Beck is one of the protectors of this area. And so like she stumbles upon it, whatever. But so originally she's from California. And so there's like kind of the third act breakup thing. She goes back to California. Okay. And at one point she comes home and then Beck is there. Like he shows up and she's like,
stalked her?
well, he anyway, there's a story behind it. I'm not going to go into the whole thing.
Chased her.
He chases her basically.
It's a gesture.
And so
It's creepy.
So she's
We're
like,
trained to like that, actually.
because this guy's an ogre, like he's a big green ogre guy, and she's like, how did you get here? 'Cause he was in Louisiana, and he's like, oh, I just hopped on a plane. And he's like, yeah, I put my hood up and I hopped on a plane. And I just wanted to die.
Oh my god.
And she's like, oh, okay, fine. And then they move past it. No one ever says anything.
That's hilarious.
I was
I
like,
just
ogre
got on a plane.
He just put his hood up and wore a big fancy hoodie and like got on a plane. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure TSA was real cool with
Yeah.
that. No big deal. Like, that's fine.
I love
got a
how-
passport and everything.
I love how the thing that bothered you about this book was the ogre on a plane, not the ogre in a swamp.
Here's the thing. It was just the delivery of it, Ash. Like, literally, she's like, how did you get here? It's like, oh, I just took a plane. I wore a big hoodie and they didn't know I was an ogre. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, it was such a throwaway line.
Because you expect books about erotica written about Shrek to be well thought out.
Here's the thing. It actually wasn't that bad of a book. It was Shrek erotica, though. So, like, please, you know what you're getting into if you're going to pick that
So
book up.
adjust your expectations.
Oh my god!
accordingly.
My expectations were in the shitter, and I was like, okay, cool, you've met my expectations.
Do you know what I love about
Congratulations.
this?
What's that?
Is that you mentioned it in your things that you're reading, which means we're not reading it in the
We're
podcast.
not reading on the podcast. You're welcome. Yeah, I know you're super happy about that.
You never know what may happen in the future.
No, we're not allowed to read books that we talk about.
I'm just that's my
Even in like 10 years when we're hard up.
Whoa, I mean, maybe in 10 years. I think someone will write something better than Shrek erotica that we can deal with.
Yeah.
Fair.
Surely
Which
enough.
is why I
Chuck
wait.
Tingle keeps writing books.
But
Like,
can we read Stay in My Swamp?
we're not reading that either.
Look at my face,
But
like,
in
let's look at Rachel. What she's gonna say.
in theory, though, we could. Like, are we allowed to read like the sequel of
Oh.
a book that we've talked
I
about or
mean,
something?
yeah, but we're not. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
No, but I guess she's just
Rest easy, Ashton.
Well, it's like, I've had.
Well, I don't want you to read this for the podcast, but I'm just saying, like, you know,
You know, you could read it.
Yeah. What?
I'll read it on my own.
Yeah.
I
I've
do have a question about it.
Yes.
Oh,
go
God.
on.
Was there any sort of like, not my gumdrop buttons?
No,
Oh.
no, that guy wasn't in there. It was a very limited cast, is what I'll
Okay.
say, because like the town people and stuff are like very secondary, and like it's a really short book.
It's
so
Shrek erotica. It's not even like a book about Shrek. It's Shrek erotica.
Yeah, because like she runs away from her own wedding. Like it's a whole thing.
Well, have you seen the gumdrop buttons? Like,
Not
they're
my
pretty
gumdrop
hot.
buttons.
No. My point is like when a
Do
book
you
is
know the Muffin Man?
the
The
Muffin Man?
Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man. Yes, I know the Muffin Man. Who lives on Drury Lane? Well, she's married to the Muffin Man. The Muffin
No.
Man. The Muffin Man.
I'm making waffles.
My point is
Also, I love Shrek, by the way. 'cause you
Clearly.
know.
Waffles.
when my point is when you put the word erotica in there, it like it's not a smutty book anymore. It is literally just
Oh, it's
porn.
just fucking.
Erotica is essentially porn. It's,
Yeah, it's like real. The plot becomes very secondary. Like it's
Yeah, yeah.
not.
Yeah.
And like this was a shock piece. Like let's be honest, it's on the Chuck Tingle level of like somebody wrote this for funsies. Like it's not supposed
Yeah.
to be like hardcore important literature. Like
yeah.
Not like Clippy.
no, not like Clippy at all. Obviously,
Well, it's like when we did the Christmas book. I was like, "Are you literally searching Christmas erotica?" Yup. And I was like, "No." Here's a list. Pick from these books, please.
yes, mommy.
Like, because for me, I need to have, which I know, and I appreciate Rachel thinks about when she picks her weird fucking books, that there is some degree of story to it, because that is my like. I can't just read weird fucking. I mean, I know I'm down for weird fucking, but it needs to be more than just weird fucking.
So speaking of weird fucking and plots, the next book we are talking about is called "Railed by the Krampus" by Dahlia Davies.
Yeah.
And
Railed?
Railed by the Krampus. Yeah. It's technically this
Third.
technically it's the third book in the series. You do not need to read the first one or two. I would say
had questions.
yeah, but that's okay. I'll answer them. But I would say the first book in that series is a 0.5 because it's very short, and then the second book is a continuation of that. Anyway,
Is the second book the Easter one?
that's correct. But the first one's also an Easter one. It's a whole thing. So
Oh, Jesus
Ooh,
Anyway.
is it like a Good Friday and an Easter Sunday thing?
it is does not.
Okay.
No, I mean he does rise again, but anyway. So we'll
The
talk about it
Easter
next
Bunny.
time.
Rise again.
Thanks for joining me for the Mafia romance, guys. I really appreciate you. sticking
Thanks
in
for
there.
letting me pick it.
You're welcome.
Oh, you picked it?
Yeah, I picked the
Oh,
next
that's why it was normal. Okay.
one. Boring.
There you
Okay,
go.
we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Queens of Spice podcast. You'll find us on Instagram and Twitter at Queens of Spice. Or if you want to send us an email, you can reach us at queensofspice@gmail.com.